Now, last year, Americans held about 21 trillion in IRAs and 401k retirement accounts. That is up about 20% just from the year prior to that. A lot of that money is being held by the older American sector, and an article from AARP says that the financial services industry is now bending over backwards to serve them, especially when it comes to guaranteed income. Let's talk about that. Some examples of what your clients are talking about and what they're asking for.
Well, I would say that I think any person that's in retirement time or close to retirement, one of their biggest goals is not outliving their income. I mean, that fear of running out of money is a real deal. I mean, who wants to go back to work after you've been retired for quite some time? So it does make sense to me that guaranteed income is important. Plus, you add on top of that with the record level high interest rates, things like FDIC insured CD accounts. Money market accounts and annuity rates are very attractive. We have a lot of segments that we talk about this in our philosophy of how to build it out. So, from a visual perspective, if you would like to take a look at, how do you position that reliable income into the portfolio versus your variable stock market, just go on Google and type in independent income system. If you type in independent income system, we've got a 15-minute video that kind of walks you through what that approach is. What I would say is, when somebody's asking what is the best investment for retirement, the one thing I would say is there's no Swiss Army knife product. There's a lot of things that you'll see on TV that says nobody should own annuities. There's a lot of financial professionals that say you should put all of your money in annuities. There's no one right product that's right for every situation. One of the things that is nice about having guaranteed income is it can kind of reduce the volatility in your portfolio, reduce your risk level, but with safety comes, either less growth, that could be some cases no growth if you're just living off the income produced by that. Sometimes, there's different time frame commitments where you have less liquidity. Again, in building this out and figuring out how to put it all together, the approach that I recommend for folks is called the independent income system. What would you say, Dave, when you're taking a look at the retirees that you're working with? They're looking at the different sources of income, trying to figure out, what could be a good approach.
I think it makes a lot of sense that when we have discussions with people that we identify what their basic needs for housing, automobiles, insurance, cars, all of that, the basic expenses of their daily life, and knowing that those expenses are covered. Because I can't even imagine what it would be like being retired and saying, gee, I don't know where I'm going to come up with the money to pay my mortgage in a couple months. So you want to make sure that you use the guaranteed income portion of your portfolio to cover your basic expenses. And hopefully you'll have other funds in your retirement accounts that you can leave for either an inflation hedge or to make purchases that you're going to need to make over the course of your retired life. So having identified buckets that are going to give you needed monies when you need them for the right reasons, that's critical, and that's why I think the independent income system makes a lot of sense.
And what I would say is there's a lot of people that are probably listening today that already have FDIC insured CDs. Maybe you have a money market account, a large balance at your checking and savings that's not subject to market risk, or maybe even purchased an annuity a couple of years ago. It's been my experience, though, that the people that we're meeting with right now, there's so many great opportunities out there based upon where current rates are to be able to take a look at kind of upgrading your situation. Number one, for those of you who have a large balance in your checking and savings, it's pretty common when you come into the office and I talk about, where some of the rates that are out there, it's able to, take that money market rate and get up to a 5% rate based upon where the rates are today in this environment. Even FDIC insured, I had met with a couple just last week. She had bought a CD a couple of years ago, and a couple of years ago when CD rates were so much lower, she had locked in a lower rate And she was just going to wait until the CD matured, and then hopefully the rates in 2 years from now when it matured would be higher. The reality is if you looked at that CD and looked at the low interest rate she was getting, it was less than 2%, she could pay a small penalty to the bank, take that CD out, put it into a new higher interest rate CD, and in a very short amount of time, with the higher the interest rate was today, be able to lock in a much higher interest rate while we still have rates that are at record level highs. It's possible in 2 years from now, if she waits, that rates could be back down. The Federal Reserve has indicated their plan is to lower rates. So by locking in some of the higher rates today, could be a good option. We just did a class where we were talking about annuities and had, both of the events that were sold out had a waiting list to come out to that event. And we had talked with an individual that had purchased an annuity a couple of years ago, and her primary reason for purchasing the annuity, not married, no kids, was to solve that issue of having lifetime income taken care of. And some of the annuities that are out there, whether it's taking the interest from a fixed account or using an income rider on an index or a variable annuity, some of those vehicles are designed to provide lifetime income for a retiree. Of course, you got to take into consideration, the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Make sure you understand the contract before you make any changes. But when we looked at her contract, because of how high interest rates were today, we're able to take that contract and actually move it into a new insurance company. And we only had to deposit about 60% of the money into a new contract to provide the same level of lifetime income that she was going to get in her old contract. Now, what that did is that freed up 40% of the money. That 40% of the money, maybe we can put it in equities. Maybe she can get some of those projects done that we were talking about in a previous segment. Maybe she can set it aside for an emergency account or just some what if that came up in life. But when you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out, what is the best investment for retirement, or do I have the right investments for retirement? The biggest people that are at risk are the people that, are within 5 years of retirement time or just transitioning into retirement time, and they are keeping the same investment allocation that they had when they were in their working years and still had a 10 or 15 or 20 years to go. So the way we can help with that, again, is that retirement team action plan. We can do the analysis for you, help you figure out what your asset allocation is. And in the meantime, if you want, just Google the independent income system, and you can get more information on what that approach looks like that we offer here at America's Retirement Headquarters.
In the same way that you probably don't drive the same car that you had when you first set out in the working world, the vehicles that you use to get you through retirement and even leading up to retirement, probably going to look a little bit different. And so to find out how to do that, how to get those components of guaranteed income beyond Social Security, perhaps if you've got the luxury of a pension, maybe using some guaranteed income products, thanks to the high interest rates, it's as simple as reaching out to America's Retirement Headquarters and finding more about the independent income system and the team action plan. You can go to arhq.com or give a call. The phone number is 419-794-3030.